So another one that I'm going to set, this is the fourth display filter that I use. I would say this one's just as common as the rest, and that is a TCP conversation filter. So not just a port number. I want to see the actual conversation between these two endpoints using this port. Yeah. Now to manually set that, I would have to say IP adder, IP, and IP adder, IP. So I would set the IP address to those two IPs, and it would give me the conversation between those two addresses. Yeah. And then I also would need to include the port numbers. So TCP port equals XYZ and TCP port equals XYZ. It's really manual though, right? So one way that I do this, I'm just going to give you the real deep dive practical. If I come up here to statistics, going to go to conversations, and I'm going to bring up TCP. Basically, one thing that I like to do is I like to look for a conversation that I'm digging for. So maybe if I'm just going to sort on port B. I know in this PCAP, there's an interesting conversation like here on port 447. That's only because I've seen this PCAP several times. That's going to catch my eye. If I right click on that guy, right click, apply as filter, selected, and I'm just going to drop down here to filter A to B, B to A, and I'll show you why in just a moment. So I just set a filter there. I clicked it, close. And if I come up here, you can see all the parameters that are needed to set a conversation filter, right? So like I said, it's got to be IP adder address A, and TCP port, port A, and IP adder address B, and TCP port B, right? So all of those things need to exist in order for a packet to be displayed. And I said source or destination, so it could be adder in either direction. Now that's one way that I do that. Let me show you another. Something that I see a lot of people do, I'm just going to jump back up to the top, is when they want to filter on a conversation, what they'll do is they'll right click it and they'll go follow TCP stream. And
yeah, a lot of people do that. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? There's nothing wrong with this, but watch what I do. Follow TCP. Okay, I'm looking around. London sounds dodgy.
Thanks, Chris.
You're welcome. Just had to throw that in. You know, if I'm looking here, but this is encrypted. So likely the next thing I'm going to do, David, is come over here and hit close. So now I've filtered on a stream, but I'm not filtering on the conversation per se. Well, I am. It is the conversation, but the first thing I did is I ripped out the stream data that is encrypted and put it on a screen that I'm going to close. Okay, so let's look at a better way to do that. If I right-click packet 1, conversation filter TCP. This is the better way to do it. So now
that's nice. Yeah.
I'm not going to go and have that stream data that I just closed. If I'm filtering on the TCP conversation, then I can come right here. And you notice here, I thought this was interesting when I first saw it. You notice that the TCP conversation syntax is a little different here than it was a minute ago when I came from statistics. That's because different people wrote those different things.
That's interesting.
So there's nothing wrong with either one. They both accomplish the same thing. Here, I've got a parenthesis around the two IPs and a parenthesis around the two port numbers. I just as easily could have said address and TCP port and address and TCP port like it came over before. So you'll see this as you continue to use Wireshark. There's not just one singular way to do something. Sometimes there's more than one way, and your way is the best way. It's the one that makes the most sense to you with the logic of the filter.
Called a tomato, right?
Yeah.
And aluminium.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good example.
Come on, you've got to say it the way you say it.
You mean aluminum?
That's right, yeah.
That's right, yeah. And it's tomato?
Yes, Chris.
Let's practice, David.
Because you're the Wireshark guru, I'm going to agree with you. Correct.
Okay, we're going to practice, everyone. Let's all say it with David. Tomato.
Tomato, yeah.
Okay, we'll go with that. Okay, so same packets.
Sorry for the sidetrack, but yeah, it's the same result. I always laugh when people get upset about stuff like that because it's, do it the way, I love the way you said it, do it the way that works for you.
Yeah, exactly. And because this comes from, and I like to share this with you in the audience, is because this comes from being asked in front of a lot of people and a lot of different audiences and experiences being in classroom settings. Hey, Chris, what is the right way?
Yeah, exactly.
And I say, well, this is a way. And now if you find a better way for you, use it. You might think that my way is the craziest way in the universe and it makes no sense to you. I've been told worse in my life. And, as long as we're getting to the right packets, that's all that matters.